what a week it's been with that Trump election. It's been worse for the markets than the Brexit in June of this year. We do have to be open and flexible to new developments coming up in these markets. Now, what you see here is the Dow Jones Index as a CFD. You have your monthly divergence that we were talking about, a high momentum count here, not so much over here, but we are going higher in price now. What has happened here in November already is the rejection of the balance zone this week. Of course, this is heavy news coming in the market. It is still busy and trying to find the new kind of price level that it wants to trade. The action has been very, very rapid this week. For now, we can only say that the market goes higher. We reject this whole divergence scenario where we come down into here. We would see successful downside breakouts on the weekly. They do not appear here as of now. You have your fractal breakout at that level against the trend, of course. The first one, but it fails completely. Just this 1 week moves up all the way and takes the market long again. As a trend follower, you do have your entry again here, but this is of course very difficult. If you trade it, make sure your risk is so minimal that no matter what the market decides to do here in the next week or until the end of the year, that you don't get whipsawed too much. Now, just taking a look here at this breakout, the candle that occurred on Wednesday, then when the election results were in. Such a candle here on the daily chart I've never seen in these 10 years that I'm looking at charts, and thousands of charts that I've seen on all time frames, but this is insane. If you compare it to anything previous, I mean, here you have the Brexit days. They are almost a joke compared to this just one bar, this one candle here, this one day. Let's continue with another market, and we pretty much see that all the markets are looking for these new kind of price levels. Doesn't really make too much sense maybe, as these heavy news hit the market. You really have to take some time for some deep thought on how you want to position yourself, what your system is telling you, and especially also what your risk parameters tell you. How much risk do you really want to take on in such an environment here where the indices are reacting like crazy, and currencies as well as metals too. British pound, Australian dollar is still in a downtrend, even though we have a quite the bullish bar here. We are still staying below the balance zone. As you know, we are waiting for this fractal to form inside the balance zone, which would then be our new stop, and hopefully we'll see that happen here soon, and the market continues down. Target zone is still down here at around 143. Let's see if that will be hit, or if we get higher prices in the balance zone. But it should, in such an environment when the monthly chart is down as well, be very tough for the trend to finish off very quickly. We will probably see this hitting new lows, and the weekly will then show us divergences down here in the momentum indicator, and there is no divergence as of now. So we do have some room left. It just takes a while until the price gets to that new low, or to the target area. Let's take a look at gold. Gold is needs to be looked at on the monthly first. We are still looking at this scenario where we're coming out of a correction. We're coming out here. We have this impulse to the other side of the balance zone. We have our fractal here for the breakout to the long side. However, the price action of the last 5 weeks has not really been too bullish, too much in favor of that uptrend. In my opinion, when you trade this long term, you're still early. If you trade this short, just like the indices would also be a very early short, you are still above the balance zone. We have just now this week, and here we look at the monthly chart of this month, come back into the balance zone. Usually what you see is a bounce out of here. It is just a retest after this impulsive move through the balance zone. And the balance zone here, the red and the blue line, will act as pretty strong support since there is, or since those are the longer term moving averages here in this system. If this really was this impulsive move, if this was really the correction of this previous trend, then I think the chances that we are turning somewhere here just below the balance zone, always looking a little bit below it, around the 1200, maybe $1190 level here in gold, and then we'll zoom up to the upside. That's the current status for this metal. It may change as prices are coming lower. If we see it break down for some reason, we'll have to adjust our scenario, our outlook. What's going on money-wise is that we were long in this trend here. It made a little bit of money, and now we're simply out of the market. We're not going short, we're simply out of the market. We're waiting for this to adjust to give us a clear picture on the higher time frames and then on the trading time frame as well. And we're not pressuring any position into any market. So especially when you had a week like this week with the heavy news coming in, you do want to be very patient and control your risk as well. The euros had also been affected by the election result. You had your breakout that I have been talking about for quite some time. It was taken, and then due to the election, price jumped up again, and I had my stop unfortunately here just above the balance zone. I did not keep it here at that fractal. I had it above the balance zone since the market was moving sideways for so long, and I wanted to cut the distance between the breakout and the stop just to make sure not to lose too much. Of course, heavy news hits, and what you get is a spike. It stops you out, and then the market comes back down. It's exactly or even lower to where it's been before the news. You do have quite a few fractals over here that would still get you back into this short position, and this is exactly what I did as well, with very low risk here too. We are looking at a short. Also, don't forget the Euro Australian. We have a huge side move on the monthly chart. This is the weekly, but the monthly will show you pretty well what is going on in here, and we are trying to break out of this zone right now. We have a target that is all the way down here at the black line, since we have a downtrend, a correction, and now we're looking for a continuation of the downtrend, which means we are looking for the for some divergence in here, okay? For some divergence between those momentum downside hills and the ones that will form here. This is a very long-term trade. This week was not able to cut off the direction of the trend. Let's just see how long it takes and when and where it's gonna go. For the last market this week, what should we take a look at? Maybe we can take a look at the UK. The FTSE index, we were talking about this being short, coming down, and this is one of the few markets that actually did come down. Even though there was this huge spike during the week, the closing of the week is still inside the balance zone. We are still not able to trade above the heavy supply level up here. These are the all-time highs in the FTSE, and we are not able to take them just yet. We'll really have to see how these indices markets around the world are going to develop. Right now, I don't see too much confidence in any direction that these markets could take. I think it will take a little bit more until we know where they're really going to go, and if we see some substance, some momentum and volume coming in, supporting the moves that are taking place. Now, also very interesting is the Bund. I've been tweeting about this for a little bit. When you take a look at the Bund, you have a long uptrend. There's not too obvious of a divergence in the momentum indicator, a little bit of a divergence in this uptrend. Taking a look at the weekly, you do also not have a divergence between these trends. This is the major correction in here, but you have a divergence between the legs of this trend, not between the first trend and the second trend, but you get your divergence there in the second trend only. This makes only for a minor correction in here, and what we're waiting for before new highs will be reached in this market is a major correction, which has been marked for quite some time now, and the breakout has been taken again, just like in the indices. If you were short and you're short in the bund, then you are going against the trend. Okay, just make sure you understand that, so that you don't expect this to just very smoothly move for a year and it makes you a lot of money. You should think about where the demand is coming into this market and where the support is probably here. The first or the next fractals after the breakout in this area, or if it's really crazy, we might see it going down here as well. So we have quite some new developments this week. Let's see how it plays out. Make sure you pay attention to your risk, because in such an uncertain time like right now, where we really want to see where the whole world is going to see how markets and politics are going to adjust with this new president in the US, we don't want to lose any money. We want to be there with most of our account and then take advantage of the huge trend that might just unfold. Thanks again for watching. Like the video if you like it, and post a comment. See you next week.